Hey guys, how is everyone doing today? It's Malbec here with another favorite video, and today it's hero analysis time. More specifically, new heroine Morgan Le Fay. You didn't hear wrong. We got another new hero added to the game, and that's a crazy part because just a few days ago, like 2 weeks ago, we had Petra added to the game. This female Berserker heroine, which we already analyzed it in the channel, the skills, the talents, the codex, the pairings. We even tested her on the arena, on the Veil of Spirits, on rallies, and in the open field. And despite not looking that impressive in terms of skills, she was pretty decent. At least the results were pretty solid on the open field mainly. But right now, like a few days afterwards, we are getting another heroine, Morgan, over here. So the devs are still following that line they got, that rule they got for each month launching a new hero. Past month, which was April, we had Petra, and now we literally started May a few days ago, and we are getting Morgan Le Fay. The crazy part is that, they didn't give us enough time, It's been like 20 days, and we are getting two heroes within those 20 days. That's a crazy thing. It's usually 30 days, new hero, 30 days, new hero. Even more than 30 days sometimes. But yeah, we're gonna go as usual for this video. We are gonna analyze the skills, the talents, and the possible pairings from Morgan. Sorry if you guys hear a little difference in the voice sound for this part of the video. The thing is that I'm recording this specific part after reset, since as you can see, I have already unlocked my Morgan. You can unlock her via Shadows of Avalon event, which is her own event. It's basically the same as the Star Track, with the difference, instead of getting stars, we're getting these shadow binds to exchange on the shop, and of course we're getting Morgan mementos. So do not forget about claiming these rewards over here, and obviously to complete each of the tasks daily. This is just the first part, or the first phase of the event, since as you guys can see, Shadows of Avalon is only the first part from this event, the King Arthur's Legend 2. It's basically like a second part from the original Arthur Chronicle we got when he was launched to the game. So we're still missing 5 more parts down there, as you can see: Shadow Edict, Witch Trials, Queen's Grace, Camelot Secrets, and a roulette, which is Shadow Legend at the end. I don't have much info about all of these. They did make an announcement on Discord mentioning each of these, and they did mention a couple minigames to obtain items, and those items to be exchanged for rewards, including Freya's skin apparently. So we will see if it's a pay-to-win skin or not, because she's an extremely good heroine, and I wouldn't like to see another 500 bucks skin like Swan for Freya in this case, you guys know. So yeah, we'll see if it's free-to-play friendly or just another pay-to-win thing. Now, moving on to her appearance, guys, I have to say she looks astonishing. Really amazing design we got over here. A pretty girl, even hot for some of you. So 10 out of 10 for the designers, I would say. Amazing job they did. If there is one thing she's missing, it could be a moving background, for example, just to be perfection, such as Roro has, maybe the trees moving, some wind, even the portal behind her, some special effects over there. But overall, the design from Morgan looks amazing. I also love the idea with the shadows, the darkness. It's something that I personally like a lot. The design of the dress, the black, the purple effects, the crown, the chains, even the 2 big reasons she has over there to upgrade her, if you understood what I mean, make her overall probably my favorite appearance in the game. But yeah, guys, all of that being said, let's go with the interesting part, which are the skills. And here I'll make a little stop because I did find some interesting stuff. I had a feeling. She looks very promising and even broken, I dare to say. And that's a feeling I didn't have with previous heroes. I didn't have that feeling at all with Petra. She didn't look impressive in terms of skills. I didn't have that feeling with Wukong or Farhad, the feeling of having a broken hero based on the skills chest. But I did have it with Joan of Arc, for example. When Joan was launched and I read the skills, I instantly said to myself, hey, this girl is gonna be broken. And I have kind of that feeling with Morgan. I think I didn't mention this earlier, but keep in mind she's an archer heroine. But do not worry about this if you're a Berserker or a cavalry player, because I do find huge potential on her as a lieutenant with any troop type. So let's start with the first skill, which is Soul Chain, the burst one. Deals damage to the target once, up to 15,000 damage factor, and applies chain to up to 3 targets around the main target. Chained targets will share up to 15% damage dealt by Morgan Le Fay to the main target for 3 seconds. So we are starting very strong over here. Just by reading only this skill, I already see huge potential in the open field and in the arena as well. I know a player that will be in love with this, and I know I'm talking about you, Abel. You'll be in love with this heroine since he loves playing in the open field with his archers. This is going to be crazy because the damage is very high. Consider it's an archer heroine, but 15,000 it's almost the same as many of the other great heroes we have in the game. And on top of that, we get an extra 15% damage to the chained targets. The chain effect is the interesting part because it's something new, something that identifies Morgan over here. And we didn't have something like this in any other heroes. So that's why I say it's going to be interesting in the arena or open field fights where you got close combat and multiple teams or targets at the same time. It doesn't really specify the duration from the chain effect. My guess it's also 3 seconds because it says that the duration from the sheer damage will be 3 seconds, but it doesn't say that the chain will be lasting for those 3 seconds. It will be also interesting to see, because I'm really curious about this, if you can unchain or break the chain by moving one of the teams that are chained away from the main target. That would be interesting to test. Also, keep in mind that the damage that will be transferred from the main target to the chained targets will only be damage dealt by Morgan. If you want to pair Morgan with Helda, for example, and you're expecting that damage from Helda to be transferred to the chained targets, it's not gonna work. It only works for all the damage that Morgan will be dealing. Now, moving on to her second skill, which is a passive one, Shadow Bind. When this hero's troop is hit by an enemy's direct attack, there is up to a 30% chance to inflict bind effect on the attacker for 3 seconds. This effect increases the damage the opponent receives by up to a 10% and makes it unable to move. When I told you guys she looks promising and broken, this is exactly what I was referring to. Not only the first skill looks very strong, but the second one looks even better, I dare to say, because it's the first time we get a hero that makes another one unable to move. Kind of like freezing it, but here with the chains with this bind effect. So Morgan over here, with only 2 skills, the first and the second one, she's already offering us way more capabilities than many other heroes with 4 skills. That's a crazy thing. I see huge potential on this skill for the open field, again, same as the first one, but I even see higher potential with this one. Let me explain you why. For example, against cavalry players, this is gonna be huge counter to them because they love entering the fight, leaving the fight to cycle skills or, for example, to heal and then come at you again with full health due to the movement speed they got. This skill right here will make them unable to move for 3 seconds, so that's kind of countering them. Obviously, against other troop types, it's also kind of a counter. Also, keep in mind, cavalry players could be using Morgan on their favor as well. If you're trying to escape from a cavalry player and they are using Morgan as a lieutenant, they could be inflicting you this bind effect on you and you're unable to move, unable to escape, and then you're dead. So that's the first thing. Now, let's imagine a war scenario on the Veil of Spirits, and that's where the interesting part comes because I see huge strategic potential here if you are on an organized tribe. Let's say you are on the Veil, a fight against one tribe and another, you got the usual open field fights, and let's say 20 players have Morgan Le Fay maxed out, and I'm just saying 20. Imagine a tribe has over 100 active members, but just 20 with Morgan maxed out, and all of them are in the open field fighting. You're technically making a lot of the opponent marches unable to move for 3 seconds. And now let's say the whales come into the fight. They are basically going to be killing all of those marches that are going to be static on the same position for those 3 seconds. Now, that's one strategy you could be applying with this specific skill, and that's an interesting point of view that I found. Then, another thing I'm curious to see is if she's able to make rallies unable to move. I'm not saying to cancel a rally. I'm saying to make it unable to move for those 3 seconds and delaying it for those 3 seconds. Delaying, I think it's a word in English. Because let's say someone is attacking you and the rally is walking towards the position you're defending. you solo that, a whale can solo that rally with Morgan, and can it delay the rally for 3 seconds? That's another question we got for this skill. So a lot of things to test with this right here, but overall, an amazing second skill. Now let's go with a third skill, which is also a passive one. Void Absorption converts up to 16% of the damage dealt to the target into healing for lightly wounded troops. Another completely broken skill. This is basically a Kalthus 2.0, guys. You know, if you didn't know, Kalthus does exactly the same, but with less healing, 10% only of the damage dealt. But it's basically the same, so this already tells us that Morgan could be replacing Kalthus on the Ancestral Trials. And obviously that's just for PvE. On PvP, this is going to be crazy if you pair her alongside another heavy damage dealer, because the more damage you deal, the more you can heal. And 16% of the damage dealt is really huge, guys. So this is a crazy healer for archers. But again, 3 amazing skills, and none of them are really archer specific, you know, so this is why I say she could be used with any other troop type. Her fourth skill, another passive one, Dark Power. When this hero's extrovert troop attacks, they ignore up to 10% of the defense, and their critical rate is increased by up to 6%. So unlike the previous 3 skills, this one is specific for the archer troop type, but I wouldn't really worry that much if you're a Zerker or cavalry player wanting to use her, because to be honest, especially if you're a Zerker player, the critical rate, you're not going to use it a lot, you know, you don't inflict a lot of crits with the Zerkers. Maybe with cavalry you do, so the only thing you'll be missing here if you're a Zerker player is the 10% ignore on the defense from the opponent. So basically it's not an essential skill, I would say. It's just there to help you a little more if you're an extrovert main to get a benefit from her being an archer main heroine. But let's go with the Awaken, which is the last one, which basically increases the damage dealt from the burst skill up to 16,400, which is huge, near the 17,000, which is probably the max we can get right now in the game. And then it also increases the damage shared by the chained targets up to a 20%, from 15 up to a 20, a 5% increase. And it also reduces the range of chained targets by 40 points. So overall, 4 amazing skills we see over here. Especially if you're an archer main, you need to try her out, you know. I don't have her unlocked, nobody has her yet. Maybe we can unlock her after reset if the event comes. But I would dare to say you need to get her unlocked, because just by reading her skills, it looks amazing, you know. Maybe the Awaken is not what we expected, you know, just increasing a little bit more the damage factor, the chain targets sharing an extra 5% damage, but just adding here the fact of the range reduction by 40 points, which is not that much, you know, it's the same as a Farhad, I would say. If this was 100 points, for example, this would have been way more interesting, but I would say you don't really need to awaken her to be effective. Of course, with the Awaken, you're getting way more potential, but overall, her first 3 skills look amazing to use with any troop type. That's also worth to mention, you know. Despite the 4th one not being useful with Zerkers or cavalry, I do find her an amazing heroine due to her other skills. Now, moving on to the hero's tale, the Codex of Legends over here, she has the Black Scale attribute, same as Petra. And this is worth to mention it because, as you can see over here, there are not many archer heroes on this attribute over here, only Helda, and she's never used as a commander, I would say, for open field or rallies. So usually the archer mains do not get the Black Scale option to use it as an attribute. You know, they usually go with the Watcher because of Swan, Arthur, Freya, even Linda when pairing it alongside Helda. Sometimes we even use the Wind Sojourners over there with Erin, with Farhad, even with Roro or Kyra if you're an archer main. So here it opens up another window for the attributes with Morgan over here. Do not forget that the Black Scale skills over here increase the damage the hero troop deals. All 3 of these skills will be very useful and very beneficial to increase the damage from your team. Do not forget that the more damage your team will deal, the more it will heal with the 3rd skill from Morgan. In terms of her talent tree, it's exactly the same as Kalthus. She comes with the Extrovert branch, Hunter, and the Attack branch as well, which until the arrival from Morgan, it was unique from Kalthus. So it's not unique anymore, and if you want a proper talent tree for Morgan, you basically need to copy-paste exactly what you're using on your Kalthus. Obviously, depending on your necessities. Here, I have a build for the Ancestral Trials, for example, focused on the damage for the Black Force, the attack increase, the skill damage increase as well, and the regeneration based on the attacks your troop receives. Now, if you want to go for the PvP talent tree, that's where things get a little bit more interesting, I would say, because there are mainly two ways you can build this, one focused heavily on the extrovert branch and a little bit of the talents going to the attack branch, and the other option is doing exactly what I got here, which is heavily focused on the attack branch and the missing talents going to the extrovert branch. It completely depends on the focus you want to give to your Morgan. If you want a Morgan with some debuff capabilities, more than the ones she's offering us with her skills, or if you want her to be kind of a glass cannon purely focused on the attack and damage. This build right here is interesting because the talent tree from the attack branch has 3 amazing talents. This right here, which increases the attack based on the hero rank. This right here, which increases the counterattack damage of the troop. And this right here, which increases the regeneration based on the attacks you receive, the troop receives. The other talents are good. This right here increases the normal attack damage but reduces the burst damage, so that depends on if you want to focus on the normal attack damage, which for the extroverts is the highest in the game. This right here is a 10% chance to increase again the normal attack damage by up to 15%. This right here, not very important. It increases the attack, but based on the amount of enemies you defeat. You defeat one opponent, you get a troop attack increase of a 6%. But if you're in a 1v1, it's not very useful because you're not going to get this extra attack unless you defeat the opponent. And by then, if it's a 1v1, it doesn't make any sense. But this right here is the cherry of the cake, because it's true that it's a 10% chance talent, but it triggers the Berserk status, which increases the damage from the troop by up to a 12%, which is massive, and disables the use of skills on the opponent for 3 seconds. So again, depends on the focus. Here, if you want a Morgan capable of debuffing the opponent, for example, not only with the chains, with the bind effect making it unable to move, but also with this Berserk status being applied on that opponent, you're making it unable to trigger skills. So that's why I find this talent right here very good. Now, the extrovert branch, if you want this right here, you just need to go for the skill damage dealt increase by up to a 7.5%. Now, if you want the opposite thing, you should go for these 3 right here that I named you before, ignore these ones over here, and go fully for these 3. If you want more attack, this right here, which increased the attack by up to a 6%, if I'm not mistaken, this right here, which is another 10% chance to trigger an additional attack with a damage factor of up to 1000, and this right here, which is another 10% chance, which increases the attack by up to a 24% for 2 seconds. All of that being said, let's try and answer the big question everyone will have about Morgan, which is with who to pair her with, with who can we get the most benefit and the best synergy. And it's not something I can certainly answer right now because we need testing, but we can brainstorm a couple compositions that could be working amazing with her, I dare to say, even before testing them. So the short answer is that she can be paired with anyone, mainly because of the skills we just read. They are all amazing, huge potential on each of them, even with other troop types. The healing comes huge for Berserkers while used as a lieutenant, for example. And the same happens with cavalry. The healings come really handy over there, but mainly the second skill, I would say, for cavalry, even the chain effect over there with the main one. These 2 right here could be huge for caps in the open field as well. Now, for the extrovert mains, which is the one we are starting with now, she looks amazing with any of the extroverts. Let's try and go one by one. Kalthus, first of all. This could be an interesting combo. I don't know if a meta one, but the interesting part here could be combining the fourth skill from Kalthus, which is the one that heals based on the damage deal by a 10%, with the third from Morgan. So combined, we could be getting up to a 26% damage healings here. So that's the interesting part we could be using with Kalthus. Now, with Hilda, another interesting heroine, she's not part of the meta for the main compositions, but she's usually on the second or third teams. And with Morgan, it could be interesting mainly because of the damage Hilda offers you, but also for the healing reduction. The next archer here we got down here, I believe it's Kyra, and indeed, this right here could be an amazing option, guys, especially if you want a heavily focused debuff team. Do not forget that Kyra is one of the highest debuffers in the game, and she's very underestimated by many players. So if you got her skin, this could be an amazing combo. Mainly because all of the debuffs she deals on the opponents, but also because she can extend the duration from a random debuff on the opponent. So let's say you apply the bind effect from Morgan on the opponent and you make him unable to move for 3 seconds. If you trigger this skill from Kyra, you could be extending from those 3 seconds up to 6 seconds, making that opponent unable to move. So that could be huge. And if you have Kyra skin, do not forget that you're making the opponent unable to gain rage for up to 2 seconds. So this combined with the Berserker status we were naming before on the Morgan talents, you're making the opponent a huge counter on the skill's activation. Another option to consider for the extroverts is alongside Roro. I see huge potential here as well. Remember, Roro reduces the defense on the opponent by up to a 40%. So this combined with a 10% ignore on the defense from the opponent could be huge alongside Morgan. Keep in mind as well, both heroines deal huge damage. Roro deals up to 14 damage factor, which is not low. Also consider Roro heals with a third skill, so you're technically having 2 healers on the same team. Also with Roro skin, you're increasing the defense from the own team. Another amazing and obvious option we got, guys, and probably one of the best ones I would say, is alongside Farhad. I see huge potential and huge synergy between the skills from Morgan and Farhad as well. First of all, keep in mind, Farhad comes with a skill tree, so you're able to trigger burst skills more often. That's translated into more damage on the opponent and also into more healings thanks to Morgan's third skill. Now, Farhad deals high damage, up to 12,000 damage factor. This can extend up to 3 different targets, so that's way more damage as well. You also got the bleed effect, which is continuous damage. So again, all the damage from this skill and also from Morgan's skill will be translated into healings. Then, the second skill from Farhad reduces the target's rage by 50 points. This combined with the Awaken from Morgan, which reduces the chained target's rage by 40 points, could be also huge. That's also where I find synergy. Then we got the movement speed reduction on this skill as well by 20%. That's again huge against cavalry players in the open field. You're not only reducing the movement speed from them, but you're also making them unable to move with Morgan's second skill, and even making them unable to trigger skills, or at least slow the triggering activation from them. Then we got the third skill from Farhad, which is always welcome, counter attack damage reduction, increasing the attack, which is amazing for the extroverts, and obviously the cherry for the cherry of the cake for Farhad, which is the ignore on the shields. This chance he offers us, which is amazing against shield generators, mainly against Circers, but against anyone that is using Arthur. Alongside Linda, there could be also potential, mainly because she buffs the attack and the damage from the partner she's being paired with. She also offers us a skill tree, but being honest with you, I prefer to pair Morgan with a higher damage hero, you know? The idea is that you deal the most damage with the Morgan team, so you can benefit from the healings the most. Following that line of thought, pairing her with any other troop type hero that has high damage could be an amazing option as well. One option could be Erin, cycling skills way faster than with any other combo, I would dare to say, dealing high damage with her. Also, the same happens with Ama, high damage over here. Also, the crit rate increase, which combined with the fourth skill from Morgan could be even higher. The healing from both heroes for a rally could be an interesting option. The reflection from the damage on third skill from Ama, the damage reduction on the second skill. Arthur is another obvious option to use Morgan with, mainly because he's completely broken. You know, he offers you almost everything. He offers you defense, he offers you a lot of shields, he offers you healing, he offers you even counterattack damage increase. So this combined with Morgan could be huge, especially offensively on rallies and even defensively, because both heroes would be healing over here. Alongside Sean could be another option to consider. The issue is that Sean's second skill only benefits a male hero on the troop she's in, and Morgan is a female, so you're not getting the highest potential from Sean while using this combo. It could still be an interesting one, mainly because of all the damage Sean deals, all the attack and damage increases as well, so that could be translated into more healings. But I find better to make, I don't know, Farhat Sean as one combo and then using Morgan on another great combo that you could make. Petra, another interesting option, especially for Zerker mains. Even for archers, you could use Petra as the lieutenant and it could work, but I see better options for Morgan over than Petra. Now, if you're a Zerker main, it's probably the best option considering Petra is the highest Zerker damage dealer. Consider that's translated again into more healings, and that's huge for the Zerker mains. If you're a cavalry main, alongside Reinhardt could be an interesting option because of all the buffs he offers to the team, obviously with him as the commander, but you're getting healings on both heroes, defense ignore on the opponent for both heroes on the normal attacks because of Reinhardt's buff, also rage reduction on the target as well. So pretty interesting combo that could work for cavalry mains over here. I do find more potential alongside Asuka if you're a cav main. You know, Asuka as the commander and Morgan as a lieutenant, both heroes healing, Asuka helping you with that, healing blocks, the guard effect as well, huge damage, which is also again translated into more and more healings. For cavalry mains alongside Wukong, it could be another interesting option. First of all, due to his skill tree, which is beneficial for cycling skills more often. Secondly, for the clones, I'm not sure if the clones damage will count as healings, but if it does, it's another thing to consider for this combo. Then we got YSS, and if you ask me guys, this is probably one of the most interesting combos I would be testing if I was an archer main defensively. And that's the worth to mention part, because archers are extremely good offensively. But what about the defensive part? We rarely see an archer defending a position. Just a few whales we saw, for example, Overlord from Dawn and Server 1, maybe Rikov and Abel on RPM, sometimes defending a tower with archers, but it's not something common to see. We usually see Zerkers defending. And this right here, Morgan as the commander benefiting from the extra word tree and also from the equipment, and YSS as the lieutenant, could be an amazing combo to test, guys. All the defensive capabilities YSS comes with, including all the damage he offers us, the shields removal, the buff removals, the defense increase, even the rage build-up increase over here, could be really interesting to combine with obviously the healings Morgan offers us, which is the only thing YSS doesn't come with. So pretty interesting combo to test defensively over here, guys. The same with Freya. This is another one that I didn't mention. This could work amazing actually. Freya with Morgan. For Zerkers defensively could be an interesting one. Again, for the healings that Freya doesn't offer you, and you're getting it thanks to the third skill from Morgan. And all the damage reflection Freya offers you could be translated into healings as well. And then Carl could be another option for Zerkers, considering all the damage he deals. Also, this could be an amazing combo for Ancestral Trials. Replacing the typical Carl Kalthas, we could be using Carl Morgan from. And one last thing that I was forgetting about just before finishing with the video is the specific hero runes you can find from Morgan. You can find them on the Shifting Artifacts, then go to the Forge rune, then click on the overview window, and you can find each of the runes the game offers us over here, including each of the hero runes. So Morgan comes with 3, one of them is on the main hand, as you can see down there. The chain effect, which is considered a debuff, inflicted by Morgan Le Fay, has up to a 30% chance to be immune to Dispel and Transfer. So this is an amazing rune against those heroes capable of removing the debuffs on their troops. The next rune is on the Trinket, and you can find it on the bottom as well. Increase the damage Morgan Le Fay extra troop deal to Berserker troops by up to a 10%. Which is pretty high if you ask me. The thing with this rune, the first thing is that it can only be used with extrovert troop from what I see over there. So if you're a Berserker main or a Cavalry main trying to use Morgan and benefiting from this rune, it won't be possible because it only works from extroverts towards Berserker troops. It's still an amazing rune if you're an extrovert main for obvious reasons. You know, the trinket offers you almost every rune in the game. You get attack, you get defense, you can get HP, you can get all three of those, but for all soldier types. You can get movement speed, you can get regeneration, you can get increase on the soldier limit or rally limit, but none of the runes are damage focused. And this one right here is damage focused, especially if you counter the troop type. So this is going to be a pretty interesting rune for those archer mains using Morgan, I dare to say. And the last rune is on the leggings, as you can see down there. Morgan Le Fay causes the target to lose between 1 and 5 points of rage every second while under the bind effect. So that's interesting because if it's the maximum rune, you can get up to 15 points of rage reduction since the bind effect lasts for 3 seconds. And this combined with the awaken could be an interesting thing to keep on mind. It's on the leggings, also worth to mention, because the leggings do not provide us crazy stuff here besides the HP and the damage reduction runes, but the other runes are nothing too crazy. So if you don't get lucky with the runes and you can get maybe Morgan rune, this could be helping you quite a lot. It's probably not a priority if you're not an archer main, although if you are, you should be upgrading her with eyes closed, I dare to say, since her skills look very promising for you. And then if you're a Berserker or a Cavalry main, you should at least consider her, you know. I'm a Berserker main and I'll be considering to upgrade her on the next days. For sure, I'll find her on a spot as a lieutenant in any of my teams, thanks mainly to the healing she offers you. And then the second skill looks amazing for any troop, especially for cavalry as well. So if you want open field dominance with her, that second skill can help you a lot with that bind effect. All of that being said, guys, we can now finish with the video. So if it was informative enough for you, helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. You will seriously help me a lot by doing that. I really want to reach 1000 subs if we can on the near future, and hope you have an amazing day. Huge hug to everyone and see you on the next time, guys. Bye bye.